continuing on, we're going to look at what is function notation. So if we look at the equation y equals x plus 4, I think that we can all agree on that this is a linear equation where the intercept is at 4 and the slope is up 1 and to the right 1, a positive slope. So I'm just doing a real quick sketch here. And then what I'm able to know is that this is actually a function because it passes the vertical function test. So I'm going to take this right here, which is this equation that we graphed, and that equation is now not just any equation, it's a function. So we're going to keep the part that makes the graph, the intercept and the slope here, and then since this graduated to a function, we're now going to refer to this as f of x. Okay? Couple of different ways that we can read this. I just looked at this and said that the function notation is f of x, and that's how we read it. Also, it can be read as the value of the function at x. Okay, so we are simply taking that y equals and we're making it the f of x. So when we look at our coordinate plane, we could actually say that we have a x-axis and then we can have a y-axis, which is actually our function of x, f of x. So now we're going to look at how we're going to evaluate functions, okay? So this is definitely a function. Is as I go across here, looking at a vertical line, I would only touch one x value at any one time. So it is indeed a function. We're then going to be looking at these problems. I'm going to break it into two parts here. Because this first part, what we are actually doing is we are given the x value. So we are given the x value and we need to find the y value, which we are calling it the function of x, the f of x. Okay, so here we are told that we are given x is equal to 2. So we are going to go on the graph to where x is equal to 2, right here. And then what we're going to do is we are going to go up until we hit the graph. When we hit the graph, we're going to go over, and that's going to be our value of 6. So when we read this here, the value of the function when x is 2 equals 6. That's our function notation. So our function notation is f of 2 equals 6. The value of the function when x is 2 is 6. We can also write that ordered pair as 2, 6. So this is what is called our function notation. This is our ordered pair it represents. Okay, let's try another one. If we look at the next one here, it asks us to find when is x 18. And so what is the value of y when x is 18? So we're going to go over to where x is 18. So right here, we're going to go up to the line, to the graph. That segment happens to be a line. And then we're going to look and we're going to go over and find that the corresponding y value is 16. Okay, so I started with my x, went to where it intersected with the graph, went over and found the corresponding y or f of x. And so now I can say that the value of the function when x is 18 is 16. Okay, so that would be written out if you write it all in your own writing. It would look like this. And our ordered pair would be x is 18 and y is 16. Okay, let's try one more of those. When x is 0, so when x is 0, right here, no right-left movement, just right there, what is the corresponding y value? So we go up to where it intersects and we read over, and that is 8. So we could say the value of the function when x is 0, the y value is 8. That is also the ordered pair 0, 8. Okay. Now we're going to look at the next set of problems here, and they are if we are given y, so that's where we're going to start, which we know is also f of x, then we are going to find the x value. Okay, so here this says find x when y is equal to 20. Remember, that's what that f of x means. So when y is equal to 20, so we are going to go up to where y is equal to 20. We are going to go over till we hit our graph, and then we're going to drop down and read that corresponding x value. And so that would tell us that x is 20. And we can write it either with our function notation, the value of the function when x is 20, y is 20, or you can write the ordered pair 20, 20. Okay, let's look at another one here. And so it tells us we want to find the value of x when f of x or y is 16. So I'm going to start here where y is 16. And I'm going to follow over, and I'm going to hit right here, and then I'm going to follow down, and that is actually when x is 18. Okay, so we know that if we go to write this with our function notation, we're going to say the value of the function when x is 18, the y value is 16. Or that's the ordered pair 18, 16. Now, what's unique about this f of x equals 16 is that if you keep going, it hits it again. And so we're going to take and we're going to drop down there, and that gives us 24. There are actually two x values that produce the same y value when x is 18 and x is 24. Okay, so remember, we are allowed to have repeats in our y values, we just can't have repeats in our x values. So this second one, we would write that the value of the function when x is 24, y is 16, and that is the point 24, 16. Still a function because it's not our x values that are repeating, so that makes it not a function. The y values are allowed to repeat. Our last one on this page is going to be when y is equal to 0. And so when y is equal to 0 is right here. And if we want to know what x is, we're going to read over, and that is going to be right there where x is 8. And so that we would write out the value of the function when x is 8, y is 0, or the ordered pair would be 8, 0. Now, another way that we can do this is by just knowing, instead of the graph, we're going to know the equation. And here we have two different equations. We have f of x equals 4x minus 7. And then the second equation, I know it's a different one because it starts with a different variable. G of x equals negative 3x plus 5. So I'm going to do this without the graph, purely with the algebra here. And I'm going to write above this the original equation, which is f of x is equal to 4x minus 7. And then I see that x has been substituted with 2. And so I'm going to do that any place an x shows up. So I'm going to have 4 times 2 minus 7. And that's going to be 8 minus 7, or 1. So the value of the function when x is 2, y is 1. And that's going to give us the ordered pair 2, 1. Now, if we look at the next one, see how it switches to g? That tells me that we're going to go with this second function up here. And so therefore, right above this, I'm going to take and write in g of x is equal to negative 3x plus 5. And then whenever there is an x, I'm going to put in 6. And then I'm just going to do order of operations, multiply, and then add. And that's going to give me that the value of the function g when x is 6 is equal to negative 13. Or in other words, that's the ordered pair 6, negative 13. Now, if we look at these first two problems here, they're very similar to the first set on the last page. These were where we were given the x, we had to find the y, or the f of x, okay? The last ones here, when we look at it, notice that it doesn't say g of x. It says we want to find x when g of x is equal to negative 5. So when we look at that one here, just clearing this off so I've got a little bit more space. When we look at this one here, I'm going to this time write down that g of x, this function, but this time it's given me what y is equal to, what g of x is equal to, which goes right here. And this right here, the x, is what I don't know. That's the unknown part. So I'm going to leave that in there. And then I'm just going to take and I'm going to solve a two-step equation. So I'm going to subtract 5 from both sides and divide by negative 3. 0 by any, divided by any number is going to be 0. And so what that tells me is that my ordered pair is 0, negative 5. My function notation is the value when x is 0, y is negative 5. Okay, pause the video, do the right column, and then turn the video on to check your answers. All right, so if you look at the first two problems, they were given x, find y. And so here we were substituting x for 0, or 0 for x, excuse me. And that is going to give us that 0 is the x value, and the corresponding y value is negative 7. This is function notation. This is the ordered pair. The next one was the same, except we used the blue, or this g of x function. And in place of x, we put negative 7. So the value of the function g when x is negative 7, y is 26. And that's the ordered pair. The next one here is if we are given y, or the f of x, we have to find x. And so that tells us when we look at our equation here, and we're told f of x is equal to negative 3, we're going to put that in there. All right, so in this one here, we're looking for, there is our function, and we're going to put in place of the f of x -3, that goes right here, and we're looking for x, find x when f of x equals -3, and then we're going to have to solve this equation. So we're going to add 7 to both sides, and then divide by 4, we get x equals 1, and that means the value of the function when x is 1 is y is -3, or the ordered pair 1, -3. We're actually going to pick this last section of word problems up in class, so we will go over it together.